This is the information that comes up when you're searching bundles, 7 Jewish communities, rabbis, chaplains. At the very bottom you can see circumcision books, naming, curses, and prayer books. So I've started gathering together many of these records. Many of them are some interesting complaints, which I'll show you. But we're starting to digitize, photograph these, and then list the names that appear in these records. Also, interestingly, in 1792, about 100 German Jewish schools were established by the administration of the Emperor Joseph. In 1806, a court decree decided that all officials of the larger Jewish communities must understand German. And according to the decree in 1810, every Jewish voter in communal elections had to prove that he could speak or write German. These decrees were followed by other Germanizing practices, which officially were to improve the Jewish masses, but as you know, many Jews resisted these. So here we have a list of school teachers in 1788-89 for the newly formed German Jewish schools. And you can see it's organized by Kreis, which was circle or district, and you can see some of the positions are vacant. They haven't filled them yet, but if you heard that your relative was a teacher in these schools, you would find their name listed here, and this is right at the time that the Jews were taking surnames. So this could place your relative, your family name in a town in 1788. And we don't have vital records for the most part from 1788. And we're just going to zoom in here so you can see it a little closer. You might see your town listed here. Sometimes they gave the given name of the teacher, sometimes not. You also get to see their salary, so you know how much your relative made in 1788. And just another close-up. We have Bolahov there. The writing, as you can see, is quite readable. You don't need to understand a foreign language. You can even translate the headings through Google Translator. The other interesting thing they had at the Austrian archives were a list of rabbis in the early 20th century throughout Galicia, organized alphabetically. This list is for 1911, but these lists go to the 19th century. They were probably done every 10 years. We only copied one, but we'll be going back to copy more, and you'll see some detail here. Just pulled out some of the names. This happens to be the B list, because there were many towns. And they list the name of the rabbi, whether there was a cantor, they mention the mikvah, whether there was a ritual slaughterer, the year of birth, the year the congregation was established, whether it was private or public. There's a wealth of information in these records, and we're starting out with this, and we'll be accumulating more lists. So again, if you thought your relative was a rabbi in 1870 in such and such a town, there's actually a way to prove it and not to speculate. And just another example of what these records look like. When they go online, we'll translate the headings, so it'll be very easy for you to understand what you're reading. This one is interesting because this is a complaint from Tarnoff, and it's signed by the residents of the town. So it's rare that we can get an actual signature from our relative, but if indeed, and I'm hoping people will come forward and say that's my great-grandfather or my great-uncle, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to see the signature, and perhaps your handwriting looks like your relative's handwriting. So now we're at the IKG, which holds all of the Jewish records for Vienna, and as I said, many Galicianers passed through Vienna on their way to the United States, to England, to other places. Sometimes children were left there when their families went to the United States. And many people ask, you know, how come I can't find the father's surname on a record? And I'm not sure if everyone here knows, but most Galicianers did not have civil marriages. They were religiously married, and that was enough for them. But when they went to register the births of their children with the authorities, without proving there was a civil registry of their marriage, the children were considered illegitimate. Sometimes there was no name given, sometimes the mother's name was given, and many Galicianers have a history of having the mother's name. But you're going to see here, this was Tom Weiss, some of you may know, he was photographing records with me when we visited, and if this clip works, you're going to hear Wolf-Erich Eckstein, who's the director now, explaining a record that he found of a middle-aged couple getting married in Vienna. Why? Because they had been religiously married for many years, they had many children, they were probably going to the United States, and they wanted to be legally married. And he explains there were many of these marriages that took place in Vienna. So let's see if this works.